Today on Spotlight on the Arts, artist Larry Carver. Welcome to JCTV Spotlight on the Arts, coming to you from the capital city of Missouri. That's Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick Jey, and with me today is a special guest I enjoy inviting back and having at the round table, Mr. Larry Carver of Jefferson City, Missouri. And if you will join me in welcoming Mr. Carver back to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm truly excited again to turn the spotlight on you, Mr. Carver.
Well, thanks for having me back, Rick Jey. And I guess I was the first one on one of your shows.
Yes, one of the first.
At the library show, and
yes,
that was a lot of fun, so I'm glad to be back.
Excellent. Yes, that was a great show. We filmed at the library here in Jefferson City, the Missouri Regional Library, and we have a lot of views from that. So we're going to bring you up to date a little bit today. Yes, you were on the show on Mid-Missouri Art News. Today you're on a special show called Spotlight on the Arts to bring people up to date. That was March 7th of 2018, the last time you was with us, but we did film there at the library about a year and a half ago, so welcome back. You know, so much has happened from what I've learned from you these past 20 months, so I'm going to ask you to first bring us up to date on your interesting life. If anything is majors happen, grandchildren, what have you. Well, I believe I'll just turn it over to you and let you share with our viewers those highlights of your life and all the aspects you'd like to share in the past 20 months. Then after that, we'll get into more of the art world.
Okay. Well, since the library show, that gave me a lot of publicity for my painting. A lot of my friends and people turned other people on to that. That was on YouTube and watched it, and which was really good, you know, for my art career. And I turned other people onto it in my emails to them, and so they could see what I'm doing. Usually after every painting I do, I send it to a wide variety of friends of mine. I just email them and get their responses to what I have done lately, so I could see what other avenues I could go into, stuff like that, and it kind of helps me generate the ideas for a new painting and stuff. A lot of the times in the past, I've done a lot of nature. I spent a lot of time outside, and I've done a lot of nature paintings, mostly birds and wildlife of Missouri. Yes. And I venture out and get into some exotic animals, but that's what I was painting in the past.
Yes, and you can review the last shows with Mr. Carver or Larry and see some of those. The giraffe, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I can't forget that.
Lottie Dottie.
Lottie Dottie the giraffe. So you have to go back to an earlier show and see some things. So, because today, after the break, we're going to show you what he's been up to those last 20 months, and you'll be surprised. He's changed a little bit in his, shall we say, his, not technique exactly, but stay tuned for that. Well, you know, Larry's brought up a point. The show has been very successful worldwide. We're getting viewers from all over the world, China, Brazil, and what have you. I recently received an email inviting me personally to spend a 10-day visit in Tuscany, Italy, and paint a painting which will go on sale into a show at the end of the year. So again, the show has offered me a chance with my art to travel to Tuscany, Italy. Well,
congrats.
Well, thank you. Hopefully scheduling that in 2020. Well, the clock is ticking away, Larry, so let's go ahead and try to pinpoint a few things a new artist might look to, or someone that is in a rut. Let's just share with us how you became interested, or inspired is a better word, to become an artist.
I always try to do self-induced art education. I go to YouTube almost every day and just watch other people paint. A lot of times to music. I paint to music all the time.
Yes.
It's mostly light jazz and stuff like that, but just watching other people painting their techniques of how they apply acrylic to canvas. I like acrylic. I've almost done every type of medium. I started out in pointillism with ink, and then I did a little acrylic for a while, did oils, did pastels. I did some portraits in pastels, and I always went back to acrylic.
Well, Larry, you're always surprising us with some honors. Any honors that you've received? We're going to talk about one of very great opinion in the second segment of the show. Have you received any honors with your travels from watercolor? You used to do a lot of watercolor.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school in watercolor, I won an award at Southwest Missouri State, and when I was in high school, and later on, I applied. I subscribed to the Artist magazine, and I see the articles in there, and I thought, well, I think just for fun, I'll apply to those contests that they had in their national contest. And I got accepted in Acrylic Works 3 and 5 with 2 different paintings. But the editor of Northlight Books wrote back to me and liked one of them so well that they put it in another book called Journey to Animals. And that same picture was in there, Blue Voices and Winter Lore. And currently I'm doing a companion piece to that, and I'm just starting it right now. So it's similar, but I like doing companion pieces in my artwork.
I see. Now, you spoke of Northlight Books published works. Is that still available?
I'm assuming so. It's still available. You just have to write to Northlight Books or go to their website. And each year they have like Acrylic Works 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I think maybe they're up to 8 right now. So it's an honor to be in it. I've been in another show down in Creve Coeur, and one of my paintings made it on the cover of their competition catalog. So that's an honor too.
So you're well established. Larry's work speaks for itself. We all paint from the heart, from our interests. And again, looking at Larry's work is very inspiring, just to take a look at what he does accomplish with the brush or what have you. Well, any acknowledgments lately, shall we say, the past 20 months you'd like to speak about?
Well, again, I'm going to try to get into some of those other national competitions. It really helps you inspire yourself to get better all the time. I don't always make it in those national shows, but when I do, it's great. And the acknowledgement of your friends and family and patrons, it really helps to get in those bigger shows other than the local shows, which is great in itself. But national shows, that's what I want to aspire to work myself up into those competitions.
Right. So, that's a good point. I try to not only tell or speak with artists and or artists in the entertainment world. You seek certain levels of your work, whether it to be acting or musician with the band or whatever. So there's always certain levels that you can reach, and you can become, should we say, number 1 in your field, or number 2 or 3, whatever level. That's still an accomplishment, and should we say you can be known for that level, but still, like you're saying, you're trying to reach on further. So a person ought to pat themselves on the back, is what I'm getting at some level, and say, well, I've gotten this far. I need a pat on the back, and then you take a deep breath and step back and go forward again for the next level. So Larry's pretty well explained that from his own experience. Well, now, changes in your medium or subject matter. We're going to talk more about the change, I believe, is portraits that you turn to.
Yep. In the past, I did, like I said, I did a lot of animals. I haven't really ventured out into too many landscapes, but animals in their habitat, like quail, exotic animals in their habitat. And it was, I thought I was kind of getting in a rut. And years and years ago, I did caricatures, like cartoons, and I thought, well, I'll just venture into portraits. So I tried one out, and it worked real good, and then I kept trying, and so I kind of lean towards portraits now. But I'm going to get back into nature and maybe mix them both back and forth so I don't get myself into a rut with portraits.
And you said nature. I guess it's a good time to welcome everyone. Larry is going to be showing again in the exhibit coming up in May and June of 2020 at the Runge Conservation Nature Center. Mm-hmm. He'll be showing a piece there that'll be identifiable to nature or conservation. So we look forward to that, and you're on the invitation list, and so we can't wait to see what you'll provide us there. Well, Larry, we must take a break, so please make yourself comfortable, take a deep breath, enjoy the sun's
the sunshine?
Get a little tan
while
we look at these special messages. In fact, when we come back after the break, Mr. Carver will share more with us of those highlights in the future, and we'll take a look at some of those paintings of the past. There's so much more here on Spotlight on the Arts. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So dude, I did the most shocking thing today. It was just something I never thought I'd do.
Did your parents find out?
My mom cried.
What'd you do?
Welcome back, everyone, to Spotlight on the Arts here in Jefferson City, Missouri. I continue with my special guest, artist Larry Carver from the city of Jefferson City, Missouri. Well, Larry, before the break, you shared a lot of past information. So let's continue along those lines of thought and expression, but looking into the future 2020. And by leading into some questions, I'd like to ask you how it came about you again leaned towards doing portraits.
I kind of look at portraits as a landscape. I always wanted to get back into landscapes, and I found that the portraits that I've done, a lot of people would think faces are really hard to do, but people got two eyes and nose and mouth and lips, and they're pretty much generally in the same spot all the time. So that, to me, that seemed fairly easy. You just got to get the likeness down right.
Yes.
What people would hate the most if you painted their portrait and it didn't look like them at all. So you have to really work on your drawing and get the eyes just right and get that little highlight in your eye right, or the guy who looked cross-eyed or the woman who looked cross-eyed. Right. You got to make sure you get that highlight in the eyes right.
Well, I have to share with you, my first try at a portrait was for a gentleman and his girlfriend, and I completed it. I thought it looked pretty good. I gave it to him. He reviewed it. He came back to me. He said, you know, Rick, he says, I hate to tell you this, but, you know, I look like Michael Jackson, and my lady friend looks like Sally Jesse Raphael.
Oh, yeah?
So I don't think you captured us. Well, so I lost that commission.
Yeah.
So, but I can understand. It doesn't take much to throw it off. Yeah. Well, what medium are you using in the completion of these portraits?
I'm still using acrylics, but over time I've learned to use a lot of glazing. You'd be surprised how many different layers of color there on people's face, like greens and dark browns. and blues, like in the shadows. You got to make sure you get the shadows right so you get the contour of the face. Older people are a lot, for me, is a lot easier to do than babies, because babies got a smooth contour on their face, and it's really easier to get distorted face because there's no shadows in the crevices of people's young kids' face. So older people are a lot easier to do. But you got it, and hair is a little tough. But if you get the right brushes, you can do the hair right and be wispy with it. Just don't try to press down too hard and get the hair just right and make it look like something plastic on their head. Be light to your touch and be wispy with the hairs, because there's a lot of different colors in hair too.
Little hair and some air.
Yep.
I understand. I took a course, I can't recall it, but I think it seemed like it was Windsor or someone, a well-known portrait artist in the 40s and 50s. And I discovered there was 28 values into a Caucasian face.
Oh yeah?
So that goes along with what you're saying. There's a lot of different blues and greens and
pinks and reds and oranges.
And reds, yes.
Yep.
And the more you can capture, the more you can glaze, should we say, the more it becomes real. So I understand that one fully. Well, now discuss the level of difficulty in learning or attempting to complete a portrait. Now, you had done caricatures, so that's a basic. I used to do those and enjoyed them so much, but that really sets up the structure of the face, at least.
Right.
But then getting the level of difficulty, what did you find when you finally turned?
With the level of difficulty that I got is when people, usually a person doesn't have enough time to sit down with you, because it takes me a while to paint a portrait, not real long, but I try to get a real good photograph, but I look at it on the computer, and when I draw it, I look at the original, and then I lighten it up, because a lot of the times in a photograph you don't get, crevices down in there. You could see the lines in a shadow. So I go real dark, regular, and light, so I can get the sketch right, and that helps a lot. And then I have my laptop there, and I bring up all three of those paintings at the same time and find a happy medium to do a portrait that way.
I see, yes. And the glazing, the layering of the values is what really shapes and forms and sculpts, shall we say, any part of the face or any object for that matter. If you think about at least three values shown within that tree trunk or whatever, you're going to pick up on a lot more realism. Well, now, commission work. Doing portraits, you do commission work, correct?
Almost exclusive commission work that I do now, because that way, I got a day job, but I like doing art at night, but I kind of like getting paid for it too, so that's when I do my commission work, and I've just kind of let it play itself into my art, because once I put it out there on the website and my name gets around a little bit, people say, "Yeah, I got something for you to do. What's your timeline of getting it done?" So here lately in 2019, I've been busy all the time.
Excellent.
Doing commission portrait work. So.
Right, and we're going to take a look at some of those, so don't go away. Can you give us a ballpark figure how long it takes you to complete a portrait?
It takes probably 20 hours to 40 hours to get it done. It all depends on the complexity. And I charge usually by the size of it, because if you do a portrait, most of the portraits I like to do is just the face from like the shoulders up like that, and get it on like a 14 by 14. My next size would be like a 16 by 18. But if you start getting the whole body, then the picture would get really big, and you're worried more about the background and body positioning than you are about the portrait, the face.
So your goal for 2020 is to do more portraits.
More portraits,
and some landscapes.
Landscapes and some more animals, because I don't want to get away from that.
We'll definitely be looking for your piece in the 2020 Call for Nature's Art there at the Run Center. Well, that's great. Now, you spoke of way to contact you. What is the best way to contact you
Okay. Well, I'm
here.
still kind of old school. You can contact me by my wife's Facebook, Carver Pal, Cindy Carver, Cindy Pal Carver. And
Carver.
I think there's only one on Facebook that way, and you could see some of the paintings that I had on there. I did some little videos. I've been doing some little video work and putting it all to music and just scanning the picture, and they usually last about a minute and 30 seconds, and I think I've done about 12 of them, and you can find them all on Cindy's Facebook page.
Okay,
So.
excellent. We'll put that on the timeline so you can
Yeah.
pick up on the address. Well, now the fun begins. Larry, we have all these paintings to take a look at. Would you please describe some of them to
Okay.
us?
What I usually do with each one of my paintings, I write a caption for it because it's a helpful selling tool, and it inspires, because usually when I send them out to friends, my picture, the caption goes with it. So first picture that I have here is called Avian Gothic, and this is my interpretation of Grant Wood's American Gothic, but using two barn owls as subjects. I used a single wheat stem as a stand-in for the pitchfork. It was great fun. And my second picture is called Back in the Day. A cheery federal-style clapboard home sits alongside a gravel road. It predates current time. A giant oak tree shades the house like air conditioning. The clothesline precludes the dryer as the bony antenna precedes cable television and email, the mailboxes. The piece is respectful to the point in time as the future is to our present. This is a characteristic style, the house I grew up in at an early age. What most viewers comment to me about this are the calming shadows along the side of the White House. Greens are hard to convey depth for any artist. With shadows, sunlight, and contrasting background, I feel that this home is embraced the frame by the shade. Both warm and cool lights are depicted.
Very good. Well, I want to share with the viewers also. We had a lady on the program, and most of you have heard of her, by the name of Ivy Case. She's up with the Aura Studio, or gallery, in the city of Columbia. And she wrote a nice commentary, and I'd like to share that with you. She said, "Hi, Larry. Here's what I said to the one read first Friday about your beautiful painting. Our first prize entry makes shelter and home two words with the same meaning. If we don't live in a home like the one so skillfully rendered here, we wish on some level that we did. The beautiful hues and superbly painted shadows, the homey details of the antennae and gingerbread, the hint of curtains in the windows, all of us to a tranquil, peaceful place like a favorite memory, or the best of a long, breezy green season that is offered. But here we have the comfort of order, clothes on the line, mailboxes, so many goofy children lined up for the school bus, attended yard, you might say. The picture is also wonderfully airy and free and full of light. The stunning entry, Back in the Day, is so well done. It is such a joy to behold its first prize-winning notoriety for Larry Carver. I enjoy getting to see it at work every day. Congratulations on your win. Ivy Case, director of the Orr Street Studios." Well, that's quite a statement and well put, because the painting does give all that.
Yeah,
that she talks about.
It was
Now,
rather strange because we was in there and we was all sitting in the Orr Street Gallery, and she just started saying that, and all of a sudden, well, wow, that was my painting, and it won first place, and there was a whole bunch of people there, so it was really cool that happened.
Well, that's a good example. Now, tell us a little bit about.
Bluebirds are the symbol of songwriters. A folklore states revealed inside persimmons are the symbol of harshness for the upcoming winter. Stay mild and sing for spring. This narrative now bonds them for an imminent change of the seasons. The chroma of birds complements the fall flora. The complexity of the entwining leaves were challenging.
Excellent. And the eye to eye.
Yes. Two enlicely species, an elephant and an egret, share the camaraderie under the dapple shade. This was a study of texture for me.
And the game of their lives.
The square of a chessboard afforded itself a different composition than the more common regular one. A gorilla fills the background. Each species has shared this planet for millennia, but as time goes by, the dominant changes amongst the subspecies and the challenge becomes the game of their lives.
And no riders, a Model A Ford.
Yep, a Model A Ford sits abandoned in a frigid sleet and snow. The steering wheel is occupied by a snowy owl while another one sits outside the vehicle on a nearby post, eyeing inside, peeved at the other. A heavily snow-laden cedar tree drapes the background. This was inspired by my winter strolls in the wood as a young boy on our farm. I found a carcass of a Model A in a dump site on our property, overgrown by cedar trees. This is one of my most popular paintings.
Now the rogue raven, boy, that speaks well for the ravens.
Yep. This lone raven chooses to consume his finding settled on a fence within a run-down cornfield. He hesitates to rejoin the others, if at all. A fall moon looms in the distance as nightfall approaches. Cindy and I ventured up Highway 50 and borrowed corn stalks used as props for this painting. The green lichen and moss also added to the atmosphere. Ravens are a favorite subject of mine.
Well, let's look at Zoe, Poco, and Binkley.
Okay.
And tell us what's happening with Zoe, Poco, and Binkley.
This was a commission portrait of a client's beloved trio of pooches while they all are lounging on the regal green fabric. The middle pup, Poco, is deceased now, and all three of these were never together. So I combined photographs and made this painting of that one.
Now, the father and son is a great example of your portrait work. Let's tell us about that.
Yeah, this was commissioned by a friend of mine, and his father-in-law is deceased, but his grandfather is still living. And I got different photographs from him, and I combined them all, and it was set in cold weather, and they all like to do ocean fishing together. So I combined them all, and once he gave it to his wife for her birthday, she started to cry.
Oh my, I see. Well, Larry, we're just about out of time. So do you have any closing words? Thanks for sharing all that information on your paintings. So descriptive. Do you have any closing words you'd like to pass on to the viewers?
I just tell everybody, if you want to improve, and if art is your hobby, keep on painting and paint all the time, and you'll watch your work improve.
Thank you, thank you. Well, Mr. Carver, again, I want to thank you for being our guest once again here at JCTV, this time under the spotlight on the arts. It's been really inspiring to visit with you again, and it has been a formative experience for myself, and I hope for the viewers. My thanks goes out to JCTV producer Gloria Enlow and crew, and thank you, our viewers, for joining me. I'm Rick Jey saying, look for more Spotlight on the Arts right here at JCTV, and don't forget YouTube.